This is Open Mic, and we're back here with you today. And I have a little bit of a surprise for my guests because I have asked Mr. Denny Springer to be the moderator today, and he will do the questioning. And I have the privilege of having with me Mr. Dominic Fede, a well-known politician to date, and we hope that this program will be quite interesting because there's much to talk about. Denny's.
Good evening, St. Lucia, wherever you are. Welcome to Open Mic. And as Michael has said, that we have Michael with us, and I am the moderator, and we also have Dominic Fede. I must say, the candidate for ancillary canneries, and no doubt I could see that the amount of work he's putting in. You know, I think that the opposition, the government would have to send somebody very good to beat him. Gentlemen, good evening.
Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah. Well, I want to begin tonight by asking Michael Frigg, Mr. Michael Shastney, something, and to tell us something of his early days, really, because a lot of people tend to think otherwise. So it'd be nice to just tell people what it was.
Well, you know, I think for a long time, many St. Lucians have mixed up the name Shastney because of Melville and Shastney. And I want them to know, like everything else, there are always two sides to a story. And those of us who want to accept it may do so. Those who don't, well, it's too bad. But I came from the poorer Shastneys because my father was just a civil servant for 30 years, working at the customs. And we had a large family. I came from a family of 10, 5 boys and 5 girls. I was number 9 of the family. And when my father left, resigned from government, Mr. Harold DeVoe, who was the owner of Melville and Shastney, asked him to do 2 years of work for him because they were having some difficulties with their grocery store and their hardware. But in those days, Melville and Shastney virtually owned everything in St. Lucia. They were the biggest company. And he spent more than 2 years there. And then the war came on, and they were looking for someone to supply bread, and my mother had a very small bakery struggling, and she was able to get a contract, and we started off there. And that's how we got a start in life. And I helped my father for a number of years, but it was not an easy road. It was a very difficult road, but it is one that even when I look back at today, I appreciate, and if I had to relive my life, I would want to do the same thing because we had a very happy family, and that's about me.
You know, hearing this, you know, it's, for me, it says that you really worked hard for what you have today, and that it is not something that was given to you on a platter.
That is for sure.
What was it like for Alan as he grew up? Did he have the silver spoon in his mouth?
Not at all, not at all. Because, you know, when Alan was born, first of all, he had some major problems health-wise because myself and my wife, we had a different type of blood. My wife was rhesus negative, and I was positive, O positive. And he developed, she had antibodies when my wife was pregnant. And when he was born, he was jaundiced, and he was fine up to a certain point, and then 2 weeks later, one of my eldest brother, who was a doctor, told me that this guy is very ill. I took a small plane and brought him to Marty. He got a transfusion through his head, and then they were able to stabilize him. But throughout Alan's, our life, we did not have things very good because, you know, we had to start from scratch, had a family, worked very hard here in St. Lucia, and then when things became difficult, even more difficult, I migrated to Puerto Rico and started my own business there in an office maybe about 300 square feet with 2 or 3 Puerto Ricans working together with me, and we worked very hard, 16, 17, 18 hours a day. Alan and Fiola, they were sent to school in Puerto Rico. They became bilingual, and from birth, Alan has been, for me anyway, a wonderful child. Never gave me any problems, thank God. And but Alan's is a very independent person, and he always wanted to go to boarding school, and I didn't want to send him there. But at a very early age, like 13 years of age, he went to boarding school in Canada, and he spent most of his life there, where he got his bachelor's degree, and then he came back and worked with Sir John Compton and got several other jobs, and later on went back to do his master's. So for me, I'm very proud of Alan.
Did you ever think that he was ever going to be going into politics? That, for example, when Sir John called him, you know, to go into the tourism sector as minister, what did you think at the time? Did you see that in him as a young boy?
Well, his mother always said that Alan would be a diplomat. That's what his mother always said. But I didn't look so far. I, being in business, I would have liked him to be in the business. But you have children, and people will do what they have to do. But by and large, when Sir John asked him to go and made him a senator and go into politics, I did question him going into politics, because I have my concerns about politics. But it's never good to stop a person. You have to let a person breathe in life. And he went in, and I think Alan did an excellent job as the Minister of Tourism. I think many people in St. Lucia are aware of that, except Dr. Anthony. Yeah. But I think Dominic
yes,
can highlight a bit more, because Dominic is in that field, and he has the figures at hand as what Alan, what should I say,
I've been able to accomplish.
Yeah, during his time, because he worked really, really hard, because his passion is tourism, and that's what he wanted. So
okay, Dominic, what I'm coming to you. What made you now want to go into politics as in St. Lucia? Well, to serve people. What made you want to serve?
Very good question. When we look at the state of our country, why wouldn't you want to serve if you care about your country? My job, actually, one of the things I do, one of the wonderful things is to deal with the corporate social responsibility. So that has exposed me to a number of people's lives, to see the social landscape, to see how people live, to see how schools are badly run, to see how playing fields around the island are badly developed, to see how sportsmen lack opportunities, to see the level of unemployment, young people like myself coming up to me looking for jobs. You receive letters and applications, and it's a very depressing thing when you're not able to help everyone. And I thought that something was wrong with the way we were running our country, and that's where the motivation actually came from.
But did you see something about Ansley and Canaries that probably depressed you more than other parts of St. Lucia? Because don't forget, the Prime Minister said to the people at the last election that he will look after, if they should win the election, he'll look after the people in Canaries Ancillary.
Yeah, that was a broken promise. Everyone in the constituency will tell you. And I think that the people in Ancillary and Canaries and surrounding communities, they certainly feel like they've been exploited by the ballot process. And they feel as well that politicians have forgotten them and remember them every 5 years. And this is something that we've got to change. We've got to bring relevance to the political system and cause people, not just in Ancillary and Canaries, but throughout St. Lucia, to believe that politics is actually very relevant towards the development of the country and to their lives and their communities and their families. And so the task at hand is a very big one for us to go forward.
But Dominic, when you
certainly in Ancillary and Canaries, I see opportunity. As I look at the construction of the tourism sector and how it's developing, I think that Ancillary and Canaries will become the new frontier, because most of the beaches up in the north, I would give it another 5 years and they'll be gone. And we will be looking for other areas to expand the tourism industry as we look to modernize and expand the room stock. And I can see that a lot of the uninhabited ridges and beaches that exist from all the way from Roseau to as far back as Chazelle, if we focus on the West Coast. So I think that the West Coast will see exponential growth in the next 10 to 15 years.
When you came here today, you said, "God, how tired you were," I know that you've been in the constituency. Did you ever had envisaged that, you know, being a politician, a potential politician, would be so difficult? Because you have to be meeting people all the time, talking with them, looking to see their plight, their problems. Did you think that, did you envisage that?
I wouldn't describe it as difficult. I would say demanding but enjoyable. And certainly it's enjoyable when you meet people and, you know, you get to make a lot of friends, and there are people who inspire you as well. You know, people who come with stories, and you see determination on the minds of single mothers who are trying to build a house without no loans, and you know, they're buying blocks on a daily basis and buying galvanized whenever they have money.
Yeah.
That's the kind of grit, that's the kind of tenacity that we see from people in the rural communities. So for me, that in itself has been an inspiration, that there is something to work with, where people are willing, that if they get opportunity, that they are willing to do something for themselves.
Well, you are in the tourism industry, and consequently it's a question that also Michael
Yes.
may have an insight into. It is said that Alan is a big spender, especially when he was in cabinet as the Minister for Tourism. How do you being part of tourism during that period, how did you,
Yeah.
do you think that was a fair comment?
I'll take that question in two parts. I'll look at his performance as a tourism minister, and then I will look at the economic situation. I'll make some comparison.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Chasney, who would know the GDP numbers and the fiscal situation in St. Lucia, which is very deplorable at the moment. And we will look at history, and we will see who is responsible for where we are. Now, I think that Alan Chasney presided over the transformative years of the tourism sector. When he came in, St. Lucia was spending in total on a jazz festival, which cost us about $8 million annually, on paying administrative staff and rental and upkeep of the tourist board, millions of dollars. And we were spending just about 25 million. So we were spending very little to expand and develop our main sector on what I would refer to as the real marketing side of the industry. So you would see, for example, that places like the Bahamas and Jamaica and other destinations, Cancun, would have very strong television promotions. And they certainly do very well appearing on major US networks like Fox and CNN, and you know, you see some of the ads, you know, come to Jamaica and feel all right. You see, there's never a dull moment in the Bahamas, and these kinds of things. And sometimes I wonder, where are the St. Lucian ads?
Yeah.
So it goes to tell you that we are not doing enough to be competitive as far as it relates to marketing. But Alan Chasney came in at a time when there was limited airlift. I think that the decision to have told American Airlines, remember they were asking for
Yes,
1.5 million
Quite.
under the previous Labour administration, and they were told that no, we will invest that money instead in Caribbean Airlines. And they said they were going, at the time it was called British West Indies Airways, BWIA. Now anyone who works in the industry will tell you that that was a very dumb decision and a stupid decision. And you know, it speaks to a lack of understanding of what really is required in the tourism sector. BWIA is a well-respected regional airline, but it doesn't have the kind of brand and the kind of respect in the marketplace so that you will get Americans coming in drove. And so the story really started from there. But Alan Chasney came and saw that if we're going to fill these hotel rooms, at the time we had 4,000 hotel rooms, and I think we had about maybe just under 1,000 flights. Go figure, the occupancy levels are going to be very, very low. And you find the hotels were jostling and competing for the limited airlines. And when he came, he saw that in order for the industry to go forward, in order for people to do well, in order to attract new investment to the island, you had to put in the airlift infrastructure. And it was very new for even the airlines themselves. They weren't used to, for example, British Airways have 7 flights from London and another 7 from Trinidad. That's 14 flights a week. They weren't used to that type of traction and frequency into the St. Lucian market. On the Canadian market, we were underperforming. We're so close to a very good economic space. And then you have, we had 1 flight a week with Air Canada. And You know, Canada, for example, underperformed for many, many years. Whereby,
Without a slight interruption,
Yeah.
Sure.
we've come to the end of the first segment of
Sure.
our program.
Okay, yeah.
we'll
We
pick
must
it up
take
in the
a
next
break.
Yeah.